Stay connected with Fiat Ministry Network. Like us on Facebook. Stay updated at fiatministrynetwork.tv/feed. Follow us on Twitter at Fiat Ministry Net. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Fiat Ministry Network. Fiat Ministry Network, encouraging all to say yes to Jesus Christ. Tonight on Tactical Catholic, join us as we welcome creative genius Jason Sims. Tonight we'll be talking about snow, bread, rockets, the importance of good art, and a whole lot more. We're launching right now.
Aha! Hey everybody! Welcome to the Tactical Catholic. What did I say? Tactical Catholic? Tactical Catholic, episode 19. That means that this show is old enough to buy cigarettes or vaping accessories. You know, we may have an entire show on that subject, as a matter of fact. Tonight, we welcome our special guest, Jason Sims. He's down here somewhere.
Oh, my word.
Hello.
Do we have Jason?
Yeah, we're...
Hello.
Yep, can you hear?
All right.
We're having...
I'm showing a low bandwidth, so my video's cut.
Yeah, we're... How about now? Try now.
Aha.
Hello, Andy. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
It's a little hairy here. It's a little scary here. We got snow on the ground in Huntsville, Alabama. We don't know how to handle it. I've barricaded myself in the house until this is over.
So how deep do you think you have it? Is it up to the windows?
Well, no, it's up to the porch, the edge of the porch. There could be as much as 4 or 5 inches out there.
That sounds pretty rough.
I have a very short dog.
Oh,
so I'm concerned for his safety when he has to go outside. But so I've barricaded myself in here. I got some hot tea.
And it looks like you got old Betsy with you.
It's a BB gun, but I'm hoping from a distance.
Maybe enough to ward off would-be snow attackers.
Any miscreants that want to come in here and steal my tea. Actually, I'm getting a little warm now that I'm...
You're getting all worked up.
I remembered that I have heat in the house because it's the 21st century. Oh, man. I didn't mean to derail your show opening.
Feel better.
By all means, go ahead and do what it is you do.
Well, you already had we've already got one comment. See, that was a good start. Someone's actually wanted to see the gun in action.
Well,
hey, you
never know.
We can go squirrel hunting. First live podcast squirrel hunt.
Well, you know what Anton Chekhov said? Said if you show a gun at the beginning of your podcast, you have to use it before the end of the podcast.
Oh, Chekhov said that?
He did say that.
That's fantastic.
Well,
I didn't know that.
I'm paraphrasing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd never read that before. That's pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, we are on live podcast, so we can do pretty much whatever we want. But I was get off my chair, you fool. I got kids running around, so so I gotta ask you a question before we get started. Now, I have known you, Jason, for a while. Kent obviously is not, so this is a surprise to him. Now, you are known on your website as the Alabama Comet.
I have been called the Alabama Comet, yeah.
I saw a picture with you holding the state of Alabama,
or
containing
a facsimile of the state of Alabama.
Well, yeah. I mean, you had not grown up,
right?
But
no.
You were holding a picture of the state of Alabama that contained Comet.
Yes.
So I put those things together.
Right. So yeah, the Alabama Comet. A friend of mine, and he's a radio show host, or he's a internet radio show host now. But for about 13 years, he hosted a radio show in New Jersey that was broadcast all over the internet as well. But it was he gave me that nickname, and it stuck. So Tom Sharpling was that gentleman's name, and he hosts a show called The Best Show, which is at thebestshow.net. But it used to be called The Best Show on WFMU, and it was very funny.
Well, see, I
That's
thought
where
that show went off the air.
it did. It went off the air as The Best Show on WFMU,
Okay.
and then it is back as thebestshow.net.
Okay.
He took about a year, and he sort of rebuilt everything
Mm.
and figured out how to get it online, and it's live every Tuesday night from 9 Eastern till midnight.
Wow.
Very impressive.
Yeah, 3-hour show?
Yes. Yeah.
That's a lot of time. I don't think I could go 3
It
hours.
is. Yeah. He's been doing it a long time. But anyway, that's where that comes from. That's the
That's the origin. That's your origin story.
That's my origin story. Yes.
That's better than my origin story. I don't have any encounters with radio hosts that
Nobody said I dub thee Tactical Catholic.
No, I just thought what would be a cool title for a podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and that's about as cool as I could get. I did get the American flag in there, so
Right. Well, I mean, it's evocative. It's an evocative name because it makes me think of an assault rifle with a lot of attachments on it,
yeah.
and maybe like a built-in St. Michael medal.
I'm a Catholic with a lot of attachments.
Certainly.
Saint medals.
Right, yes.
I got a brown scapular on under
you
here. Yeah.
Yeah, but also tactical. Just so you know, you're doing this you got a plan.
Yeah.
Andy McNutt's got a plan.
And I love it when a plan comes together.
That's what Anton Chekhov said. I love it when a plan comes together.
So, yes, automaton. That's my 2-year-old. She's building a robot.
Oh, wow.
So, Kent, I did not even ask you, how are you doing?
I am doing great. And a little bit of glitches on the stream. I'm doing great. Yeah, stay on the audio feed. We're fine on the audio feed. It's the video feed tonight.
It's your video.
Yeah. So
It's all you've got what, 2 inches of snow there in Cleveland?
we're at 4 feet. And it's
4 feet. 4
yes.
feet.
Yeah, but that's like 2 inches here.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, like 4 feet in Cleveland, the exchange rate once you cross the Mason-Dixon.
Yeah. Look, Kent, I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure you're having a very difficult time there. Well, we have four whole inches of snow here. Please show a little sympathy for us with your 4 feet of snow.
Yeah, well, and down here, of course, in Memphis, and I'm further north than Jason,
Mm-hmm.
and we probably have about 3/4 of an inch of snow here in Memphis, and we're gridlocked. We're shut down. In fact, I needed to ask you about this, Jason. When you get snow,
Mm-hmm.
and you happen to go to the grocery store, I don't know, you have Kroger, Piggly Wiggly, Winn-Dixie, whatever.
Oh yeah, we got it. We got them all.
Well, what's the bread situation like?
Well, it's being very grim because the slightest mention of snow, and people will make fun of people for doing this, but the old folks know that bread and milk is the only thing that can ward off the Wendigo. When it snows, the Wendigo come out of the hills
Yeah,
in search of prey.
sure.
And if you have bread and milk, they'll pass by your house.
I had no idea.
Yeah, because you're not gonna. You're not gonna just have to eat more bread and milk than normal. It's not just.
That's what I always thought.
No.
Wendigos.
Yeah, the Wendigos. They come down from Canada. They ride the snow clouds. Yeah. This is science.
Well, every time, and I have to trust you because you live in Rocket Town.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Every time there's a snow, and I'm going to go to Kroger or Aldi or someplace. There's no bread because people always bought it. I thought it was because they were trying to stock up bread in case of an ice apocalypse.
Yeah. Now they may think that might be what they're doing. They may think that that's what they're doing, but the reason the tradition got started was to ward off the Wendigo.
Okay. Well, and we're getting from the Canadian Grappler, who is guesting here in the chat room, is confirming as a Canadian
Oh yeah.
that this is true.
So I mean, Why are we even debating this? Anyway.
I'm not debating. I'm being educated.
No, it was just the theoretical. I'm talking to the skeptic at home.
Yeah. Well, listen.
Why are we even debate this anymore?
To the millions of men, women, children, and other watching and listening at home.
Yeah.
This is serious business. Must. If you don't have at least 3 loaves of bread in your house right now, drop everything and start up the plow and get yourself to your local grocer and get some bread.
Yeah.
For heaven's sakes, Wendigos, folks. Wendigos.
I would support that.
Well, read some Alpha Flight or some X-Men, and you will see
that is right.
This is no small thing.
No.
Well, I'm glad we got that out of the way.
Yes.
And I'm also glad to know that I'm not the only one that has seen this great bread phenomenon.
No, it's very common.
Okay.
Can I ask you something before we get deeper into this thing? How much of this podcast is usually spent discussing what a super guy Andy McNutt is?
Not near enough.
Not enough.
Can I do that? Can I do that? I mean, I just want to get if I could be serious for just a moment, at the risk of being maudlin. Andy and I, the way we know one another is that back in the mid 2000s, long ago, in the mid 2000s, I'm a Catholic gentleman, which is why I was invited on this thing, and but I was not a Catholic gentleman then. I was a Baptist gentleman, and in the midst of transitioning from being a Baptist gentleman to becoming a Catholic gentleman, I ended up crossing digital paths with this gentleman here, Andy McNutt, and he'd written a blog, and his experience was very similar to mine. So I just kind of sent him an email, probably a hallucinatory email, just from like being awake all night reading things online. And he probably, against his better judgment, responded to that email. I mean, it was when you see a movie and they go into the guy's apartment and he's got all like the newspaper clippings on his wall with like markers and strings. This was what this email was probably like. But Andy McNutt took pity upon me, and he was just. I mean, we had an email exchange probably over several months that was very, very helpful. You were very ironic. You were not pushy. You were very just. You made yourself available to me. Anyway, you had a very large impact on my life and on my family's life and on my my spiritual life, certainly. And I'm very thankful that you exist, and I'm thankful to know you. So I want to get that out of the way, that very sincere thing, and then now we can go back to talking about Wendigos or whatever. Well, I wanted to be sure to say that because I was really thinking about that.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Preparation of coming on.
Well, and it was fun too, Kent. If you ever get a chance to watch, the first time I was on EWTN on the journey home, Jason called in because they were taking live calls back then, and you made it. You were on the air, so that was funny because I didn't know you were going to call.
I don't remember having called.
You called in.
I'm sure it was.
I got it on DVD.
I'm sure it was the highlight.
Oh, it was. They made a highlight reel, and that was part of it.
That's part of it. Like you're not. It's like you're the whole part of the highlight reel. You're just like.
That's pretty much what happens until Marcus gives the cue to talk.
Right.
But that was fun because that was not too long after you came into the church. I don't think.
No, 2006 was Easter Vigil of 2006.
Okay.
So they have not gotten rid of me. Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. We'll take anybody. We'll just take anybody. That's
the church will take anybody and everybody.
That's part of the deal.
Well, and we had talked too about year-round RCIA, so that's why every parish needs year-round RCIA so that you can receive people any time of the year.
And that's I actually saw you discussing that on an earlier episode of this very podcast, and I thought that was a stellar idea. And
it works.
Yeah, I'm going to. I have, like I told you, This is basically this whole episode is going to be Andy and I reviewing emails we've sent to one another.
Yeah. I've got them pulled up right now. So
yeah, remember that email where I sent you because I have friends of mine who our religious director of religious education has invited them to come help with. They're all converts. They all went through the RCIA process, cool. And they're all like really great, super guys, very well read, but also down to earth.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's invited them to kind of help develop the program. So I'm going to mention that's one of the things I won't mention to them. You know, that's a great idea. I mean, that is a great idea.
It works. I'd love to talk to them if they want to.
Well, I will. I'm going to do my best when, snow, if we ever get out from under this snow, if life continues here in Huntsville, Alabama, I will get my friends from Holy Spirit Parish in Huntsville, Alabama that's the first time I've ever plugged my parish on something.
Well, what would help? Why don't you fire up a couple of those rockets you got down there, the big ones that they have at the Space Center?
Yeah, melt some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd probably get some heat all the way up to Memphis. That's a big rocket. The one that I started.
Very big rocket. That one's not big. That one's not real. The one that's standing up isn't real. The one that's hanging.
No, the one that's inside the building.
Yeah, that one's real.
Okay. Yeah. Turn that on. That would dry the street.
They do need to turn that on. I'll see if I can put in a word.
Go ahead. Yeah. I mean, that would help everybody. Atlanta is shut down, I believe. So you could probably help out the people in Atlanta. Just saying. So, well, we could talk about Wendigos. We could talk about bread.
We could. Or we could have an actual conversation. I'm open. Look, I started the thing like this. So I'm open to anything.
You're Jeremiah Johnson. Well, here's the deal. Now, wait, just Al. Al is. I'm assuming that's who Canadian Grappler is. You changed your name, but you're still the same person. Now, look, you're saying that people on your wrestling team were Wendigos, or is this like a crew that you're trying to send to fight me? Because I'll fight a Wendigo. I don't even care.
Well,
I have no fear.
I might advise you.
My house is full of bread.
Yeah, but they're not going to come around. The thing is, the best way to win a fight with a Wendigo is not to fight with the Wendigo.
Or call Wolverine is what I'll do.
You could call Wolverine.
No, wait, he's dead.
Oh, is he dead?
I was told that Wolverine is dead.
Yeah, but he's not going to stay. Those X-Men don't stay dead.
I'm just saying.
Dead.
Well, I'll find somebody else. But I'm going to start talking about Wendigos again. So the reason why I had Jason come on the show, everybody, is because Jason is an artist. So among many things, now, if you go to his Tumblr account, which we'll give you the link to, if you go to Jason's Tumblr, one of the first things that you'll see is this great video that he put together. Well, what's that? 1990?
Oh, my word. I forgot that was up there. No, look, don't go to the Tumblr just yet.
Don't go to Tumblr? Oh,
no, listen. No, let me just say, because you talked about when you had, it was like a public access station, right?
Yeah, but this was, I worked there.
And it was fun. I remember the story from one of the podcasts that you did where you talked about that, and to be able to have access to equipment and make some cool movies, that's nothing that ever would have occurred to me. Yeah. But you were a teenager back then, but you've continued to create stuff.
Yeah, it was weird. Is we were right on the cusp of when a civilian couldn't do stuff like that. Like now, there's more power in this thing.
Oh, sure.
Than was in that whole studio, but we just thought it was great. We're in the middle of Coleman, Alabama, north central Alabama, and we've got access to these cameras. We've got editing suites. And it's just, and of course we did the dumbest stuff you could possibly do with it. My friend Tony Purdue and I, we were in a band at the time, and so it was.
And you had a mohawk.
At times, I didn't have a mohawk.
So. Well, I wasn't going to say so much about the content of the video, although it is creative. But
it's something.
Well, but the effects, to be able to have access to the stuff, that's fun.
Yeah, it was real fun. We cranked it up till we had no restraint. It is a lesson in. It's like if you give a dog enough food for a week, he'll eat every bit of it and get sick. That's what we did.
Yeah.
With the video.
Well, as it's just from those humble beginnings in your musical career and your video work, I mean, you've gone on to create. You've had 2 podcasts that I know of. And you've made movies. I think you are still. Don't you have a production studio now with Trevor?
Well, yeah, we worked. We made a couple shorts, and we've done some writing on some other things. It's Al Brothers Studio. We haven't done anything for a while. He's got some stuff he's working on. I've got some stuff I'm working on. But Trevor Britton, even when I'm not working on something with him, he is kind of my chief sounding board. Like he's kind of my ground creative, like I don't know, like he's my best friend. I could say that. Mm-hmm. He's also a convert, and he came into the church a couple years. He and his fiance at the time, now wife, came into the church a couple years after my wife and I did, and his wife is my wife's best friend.
Ah,
so that works out really well. So we spent a lot of time together. And we bounce off ideas off one another. But we do, Al Brothers was kind of our thing. And the last thing we did was a short called that Trevor directed called Good Cop. And you could find that. There's links to it. I mean, if you go to YouTube and look up Al Bros, mm-hmm. or look up if you look up Good Cop, there's tons of stuff on YouTube that says Good Cop. But if you looked up Al Brothers Studio, Good Cop, you'd probably find it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we do that, but yeah, yes, that's one of the things that I do from time to time.
And you did the podcast because I remember Jason Sims put you in your place.
Yeah, I did.
But also, you did Rambling.
Yeah.
You don't mention that on your Tumblr.
I thought I did. It's in there somewhere.
Okay, because that was my favorite podcast.
Yeah, and it was unsustainable. It was unsustainable.
Well, you even went ghost busting one time.
So yeah, there's no telling what we did. We time traveled. We did all kinds of stuff. That was with my friend Trevor. So if you want to understand, and here's the thing is, even though we don't do Rambling anymore,
yeah,
we continue to do it. Like we just don't record it. Like that is just
recording it for the rest of us, though.
That's just us basically hanging out, and it got to where I don't think this is interesting enough. Like because we just ran out of things to do. Like we want to just sit at home and not have to worry about recording things. Yeah, and I would end up with I would try to whittle down like a couple of hours into 45 minutes. And it was just, and have it all still make sense. Like I couldn't, so like if we made a reference to something, I ended up cutting it out. I had to go through and I'd have to cut out every reference, and I'm a lazy person. So I stopped. That went about 8 episodes, but it was really fun to do. And then
fun to listen to.
Jason Sims Put You in Your Place went about a year, and I'm real proud.
Well, you were interviewing all kinds of people on that show.
Yeah,
I remember Andy Kindler. You had Andy Kindler, and among other people on your show.
Yeah, Andy Kindler, Tom Sharpling, the gentleman I talked about earlier, was on there.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of people that people may have heard of. A gentleman named John Hodgman.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. You had John Hodgman too.
The PC from the I'm a Mac, I'm a PC commercials, but also an author and a very funny guy. He was, been on the Daily Show, things like that.
Plus, he's got his own stand-up specials too.
He did at Ragnarok, and actually, when he came to Birmingham, he invited me to come down and do some stand-up with him. So he's just incredibly gracious man. Yeah.
Well, and what about you're part of an improv group, right?
Yeah, I do. And I don't expect anyone that's not in Huntsville to see us. But if you're in Huntsville, I'm part of a group called Comic Science Improv, and we do short form games improv, which is kind of like what you'd see on Whose Line Is It Anyway. But we do a lot of other games, and we actually develop a lot of games and reverse engineer and tweak a lot of games. And our shows are real fast paced. And there's just some very funny people who during the day, send data up to the space station.
Yeah.
But then at night, they're also very funny. And you wouldn't expect that, but that does happen.
So, but you do this in front of a crowd, right?
Yeah, we have regular shows. We actually, we used to have a venue down in South Huntsville in a theater, but that place closed down. So we actually perform in a Methodist, once a month in a Methodist church.
Really?
Out in Madison, which is nearby. And we're looking to have a venue back in Huntsville proper again, but we have a monthly show out there. And the Comics Nights Improv's on Facebook and on the internet, on Twitter and all that stuff.
Do they have any videos on YouTube?
I believe so. I believe there are. I believe that there are some videos, but it's better. It's not the same. There's nothing like being in the room with it and it just being this ephemeral thing that will never happen again.
Right.
So we did that, but we did a long form that we actually did an improvised play, improvised 2-act science fiction play. We did about 4 performances of it where we all had fixed. Ordinarily, we don't have fixed characters.
Yeah.
So 4 of us had fixed characters, and then 2 other people played everybody else in the world. And I am as proud of that we did. It was called Commander Biff and Galaxicon Encounter, and some of those are online. But I was as proud of that as anything because it was just we kind of developed that within a year and got it on stage, and it was a lot of fun. One of the most fun things I've ever done. But
I think I've seen stills of your costume.
Yeah, I kind of look like I'll describe him as looking like a cross between Fidel Castro and the Lipton Tea Man.
That's a nice comparison.
Yeah,
that's an odd comparison.
That's kind of what he looked like, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and all that to say, because Ken and I had a show a few weeks back where we talked about art, and to actually have an actual artist,
an artist, yeah.
Well, a creative type. Can I use that?
I will feel much more comfortable with that.
To have a creative type on the program with us, and because this is something that I feel strongly about as a non-creative type. And I've always believed that it would be better for a person like yourself, who is a Catholic, to be a Catholic who is an artist or a creative type, as opposed to being a Catholic artist, right? Where we're only going to find your stuff on EWTN,
right?
We're only going to be able to buy your books, in the Ignatius Press or Catholic bookstores or something like that. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
And that's a complicated. We have 3 hours, right? This thing's 3 hours long.
4 hours actually.
Okay, good. That's almost enough
to outdo Tom by 1 hour.
Yeah. That's a very complicated thing, and that's something I talk about with my friend Trevor Britton a lot. Is that idea, and where I'm at on it right now is I would tend toward that idea, especially for me because I primarily do comedy, and you can evangelize through comedy, certainly. I mean, you could, but comedy's not. It's not the same as if you're writing classical music or if you're working in stained glass, or if you're, I don't want to punch up my pastor's homilies. I don't want to make the liturgy funnier. You know what I mean? I want it to be less funny, actually. So I mean, I think there is certainly a place for sacred art, liturgical art and music that's meant for liturgical or worship, or art that's meant to present, explicitly present, religious themes or the gospel or things like that. I think there's a place for that. But like somebody like Flannery O'Connor, who was an artist, who's somebody I am endlessly impressed by as a she's her work. I don't think you would ever read a story like Good Man's Hard to Find and just think, oh yeah, that's a Sunday school lesson, because it's not, because it's this. If you've never read it, it's a very gritty. There's parts of it that are really funny, and of course there are. She's a Catholic through and through, and all of her work is informed by that, and in fact, she's conscious of like human sin and the need for grace and redemption. Actually, I think she writes more truthfully about things like that than maybe somebody that would only write, you'd only find in a religious bookstore. But anyway, I think she would describe herself as a Catholic who is a writer rather than a Catholic writer. But I wouldn't fault somebody that would say, I feel that it is my vocation to write religious books or to paint religious art or do things like that. I would not fault that. But also, I think we're called just to be salt and light. We're called to be in the world. We're called to be, to love our neighbor. And if you're a creative person, your neighbors are not going to always be in Christian bookstore, Catholic bookstore. They're not always going to be doing a passion play or whatever. You're gonna, right. I mean, if people who, because there's some beautiful things. There are some limitations. I will say this: there's some limitations, especially in comedy, that my faith and my sort of moral center put on my work that a lot of people in comedy, especially, don't have on their work. Mm-hmm. But there's some beauty and some truth and just some like sort of bedrock kind of I don't know, things I feel like I've got that I can kind of plant my feet on that I have that are completely because of my faith. Like the fact that I try to do comedy that's not hateful or mean, because I believe that all human beings have dignity. So even when we're laughing at someone's broken, shortcomings, a lot of humor is kind of laughing at human shortcomings, which is good because it reminds us, that we are human and we do need grace. But right. But to do that in a way that where you don't insult human dignity. I mean, it's like a safeguard to me that and that's not only a Catholic principle. I mean, that's a decency principle that all human beings have dignity, but certainly that is something that's emphasized in our faith and consistent with our faith. So, and the faith reminds me of that because sometimes it's hard. Sometimes I don't want to respect someone's human dignity because I'm angry at them.
Sure.
Or sometimes I don't want to respect the human dignity because I'm going to make some money if I don't. Money's great. Money's really great, or whatever. Yeah. So, or I'm going to get a big laugh. Like if I do this thing, I'm going to get the biggest laugh, and it feels so good, and I feel like I have worth. For 5 seconds. But no, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Not worth it. So I don't know if I answered your question, but for me, I mean, if I was able to chant, or if I was able to paint like Michelangelo or something like that, I may have a different answer to that. But I do feel like it's good. I do feel like people who aren't in church every Sunday, they have a right to have good things presented to them, and things that will hopefully stir up that appreciation for the beauty in the world and the joy in the world and the understanding of our own brokenness and the need for something else. And if that and that's something that good art, no matter who it's done by, good art that can provide. Because I think as an artist, you have a duty to beauty and you have a duty to truth.
Right.
And whether you ever make a dime off of it, whether anybody ever hears it, you have a duty to that. And comedy is really tricky. Like because there's not a lot of literature on that,
right,
like there is on visual arts and music.
Sure.
So if anybody could ever point me towards some Thomistic thought on the elements of comedy, I would love it. Because that would help me out a lot. But anyway, I don't know if that answered your question.
No, I mean, again,
it's another question.
No, well, it's I was discussing this with my wife this evening, actually, and we have different opinions on the matter. But I mean, I guess it comes down to this: sometimes, there are people that are in a place like Scott Hahn. He's a kind of famous Christian writer, right, and a Catholic in particular,
and a very talented pun writer. If
Yes,
you've ever read his
he is the master of puns.
he is a punster from
He
way back,
definitely is.
way back. Yeah.
But I don't. I know he probably has clout academically in some other circles. But when I think of Scott Hahn, I think of Catholic author and speaker Scott Hahn.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he is introduced, right? So when people, I guess I'm not Scott Hahn, right? But
Okay, I'm sorry, I've got to go. I'm sorry.
I knew it.
Wait, this isn't EWTN?
No, they haven't.
Not
picked
even
us.
close.
We're our own
I thought you were in
network.
Steubenville.
No, but to have that, I don't. This is what I do full time. I don't teach in a Catholic seminary, and I don't work for the church full time. So in the circles that I have, and I include this webcast and podcast as a circle, but by day I'm not a superhero fighting crime as I am right now. I have a regular 9-to-5 job. I'm a dad, I'm a coach, and I do the things that I do. But in those things, I want to try to do, I'm not creating art, but to do what I do as faithfully and as wonderfully as I can.
Right.
So that when my matter of faith comes up, that people would care to give me the time of day.
Right.
At least because they know, well, he's not an idiot. He works hard. He does good work. I can at least listen to him for 5 minutes on this, whatever's on CNN during the 24-hour CNN lunch television that we have.
Right.
So,
and you kind of have to earn the right to be heard in a way. I mean, you're supposed to treat people. I mean, for number one, as whatever we do as Christians, and this is a terrifying thing to think about. We work for Jesus Christ.
yeah.
Like whatever you do, we're supposed to do it as if we're working for the Lord, and not whatever company we work for, even though we do work for that company. You know what I mean? So we have, regardless of what label we put on anything we do, that's how we're supposed to be doing it. But then number two, because of the time that we live in, that we're Christian, we're kind of eating up our culture. I feel is kind of eating up the last fat of Christendom, and we're now moving into this post. May I be wrong about this, but it feels like we're moving into this post-Christian era, and especially, being a Catholic in the South, or even being a Catholic in America, or even being a Catholic in the 21st century, especially with some unfortunate things that have happened that have been in the news, and also just people's attitude toward religion in general, or God in general, or any aspect of ever treating faith like it's something other than an emotional or a private or a personal thing. If you ever try to get it outside of that realm, all of those things that I just said is something that in this day and time, there's hostility to.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to earn the right to be heard. People need to know that you're a decent person, and like you said, like not an idiot.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I mean, they've got to just kind of respect you as a human and as a whatever you are.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be, so that there's that aspect to it as well. And I don't know. I mean, I'm torn to ever really come down hard and say you should never call yourself a Catholic artist or whatever, because I think it depends on. I think you should be whatever it is that you're called. Should kind of grow out of what it is that you do.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So like whatever it is that you do, then that's what that's what that guy is. He does that, because I think a lot of times we get the cart in front of the horse. Many people call themselves writers, and who don't write.
Yeah.
They want to have written.
Yeah.
But they don't want to write. And that is me most of the time. I do write, but I usually want to have written, because writing is very hard. Talking, we could do this all night. I could put my hat on. We could talk about Wendigo some more. It's great, but writing, you can't funny hat your way out of a bad paragraph.
Sure.
So anyway,
Yeah.
I mean, I think maybe sometimes we get too hung up on, and it becomes marketing too. I mean, that's all, and that's depressing. Now I'm depressed. Thanks.
Oh,
I'm gonna drink this.
well, I didn't mean to depress anybody. We can talk more about.
I'm very moody. I'll be back. I'm
No.
gonna drink this tea and I'll be back on
It's
top.
it's probably your tea. Well,
Hey.
I see. Well, I guess I was thinking. Of course, everybody that listens to this show on a regular basis knows that I talk about wrestling at least once every podcast.
No.
Is this the time?
Well, yeah, that's why I put the fez on.
That's fine.
So we'll either talk about Doctor Who or wrestling. So let's talk about wrestling for just a second.
Okay.
Wrestling. Well, yeah, down here it's wrestling. So
And you're in Memphis, and that's like that's a
it's kind of like Mecca. It's like the Mecca
Yeah,
of
It's a
wrestling.
mecca, yeah.
Well, it used to be.
yeah.
We just got a pay-per-view back here, and things have kind of dwindled. But Jerry the King still lives here.
Wow.
He still does auto body shop commercials and stuff. So,
Do you ever pass him on the street being carried in his?
I don't. But a friend of mine was behind him in line to receive the Eucharist at Mass.
Oh, wow.
And I asked him, I said, well, did you say something? He said, we were in line to receive the Eucharist.
Something a little important going on here.
But did you at least look for him after Mass? Anyway. So, yeah, the King lives in Memphis. But, I watched, of course, I coach, and I was at a tournament a couple of weeks ago, and I saw a kid kneel down, kind of what do you call it, Tebowing, right? Kind of took a knee, and he was obviously praying before his wrestling match. And he went out and absolutely got obliterated. Now, I feel bad for the kid getting obliterated, but I wonder, how many times, take that kid who he may have been honestly praying, God, please don't let me get obliterated.
Yeah.
Or maybe he was just trying to make a sign of his faith, right? I don't know. I'm not that kid. But then I've seen other people, they score a touchdown and they take a knee, or they, look up to the heavens or do something. I don't know. If I was going to attach my faith to my work, then I want my work to be good work, or at least to be honest work. Because I'm not. If I make a mistake at work, I need to own up to my mistake because I know I'm not faultless. But to at least do good enough work that people know I'm a hard worker, and that I am a man of faith. If you can't tell by my cubicle, I got icons. I got icons in my cubicle for people.
Right.
So they at least must think that I like foreign language art.
Yeah. You just like.
I like
Greek
gold
art.
foil laid upon wood blocks.
He's a big fan of gold foil on wood.
Yeah. I did. And I've got comments on that, but I'm hoping that, I would feel horrible about that stuff and my association with Christ being on my wall if I was a slack off, lazy worker, because it's like, gosh, if that's what's being a Christian's about, then I don't really want to have anything to do with it.
Right.
So that's where I'm coming from as a non-creative type. I just want to do good work so that if I ever get a chance to talk about Jesus, then people are going to respect me enough as a human being, as a person, at the time of day, and we can dialogue.
And on the natural level, it just feels good to do good work because we're made for that.
Yeah.
Because that's the beautiful thing about a lot of this stuff is there's the two levels of it. There's the natural level, because ultimately, most of what we do does not matter that much in the grand scheme of things. Like when the Wendigos finally come, it's not going to matter that much, that we pushed a couple extra units of this thing, or that, man, that joke was really killed. But the fact that we're doing what we're gifted to do, because if we've been given a talent, I believe we are supposed to share. We have a duty, to share it. Or if you've been given an ability, whatever it is, and you have a duty to share it. And then, but then it's also you actually get to bring goodness to a human being there's a human like you with needs and desires like you, and also who's made in the image of God. I mean, so that kind of does have lasting value.
Well, sure.
But yeah, and the thing about, I mean, I think just people mean well. I mean, people just feel like, I mean, because I think, especially in certain schools of evangelism, of evangelistic thought, it's just the idea that you just want to get them to be fond of Jesus, or you just want to get them to say this prayer, and if they say that, then everything's good.
Mm-hmm.
So we just gotta get them to be into Jesus for 5 minutes or whatever.
Right.
So it's like, so maybe this thing that I do, and I don't want to be that's an oversimplification. But I know people, everyone who would go out to evangelize would want somebody to live deeply in their faith and be, to not just blow it up,
Oh, sure.
off.
They want what's best.
Yeah, but I think, it's almost like that. That's going to kind of zap somebody. That if they're going to hear, if they see you take a knee, they're just going to like zap them.
Yeah.
There's going to be some. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's hard. There's lots of things that get on my nerves that people do that I go, well, you know what? They are absolutely mean the best by what they're doing. They absolutely are meaning to do.
Yeah, they mean well, right?
Yes.
I think a lot of people do, and that and of course in the South we have that saying, "Well, bless their heart."
Yes, right.
So even if someone's doing something that I would think may be foolish,
right,
or not the way that I would personally do it, well, bless their heart. They're trying.
And there are worse things you could do after you squeeze.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot worse things you could do.
Yeah.
So,
well, and I look at it kind of like this, because a lot of what I see in what is often called evangelism is really just creative marketing.
mm-hmm.
So creative marketing is great, and you worked in sales and you have sales experience, so you know that getting people to look at your product is step number one.
Yeah.
But step number two is they got to be sold on the product, right?
You have to have something worth looking at. Yeah,
exactly. It's got to be worthwhile, because once they come in the door, you got you built a brand new front on your Walmart, but you never restocked the bread after the great Wendigo scare.
Right.
Well, when people come into your clean front Walmart and they said that there's no bread, they're going to turn around and go to Aldi or someplace else.
Right.
So,
Aldi, by the way, I'm glad you mentioned Aldi earlier, because I'm a big fan of Aldi.
Well, I'm looking for, Aldi, I know you watch and you listen as the corporate entity.
Yeah.
If you want to sponsor this program, I would love to talk to you. We love Aldi in this house, and most products in my refrigerator and cabinets come from the Aldi.
We got one right down the road.
Awesome.
If I had to walk through this snow, I could probably do it. I might die at the end.
Well,
but at least I would have made it to Aldi. Yeah, he's very short. As I mentioned, he's a very short dog.
Well, carry him on your shoulder.
I'll carry him
just in case.
But they have fantastic chocolate.
They do have good chocolate.
I'm not eating chocolate right now, but they do have fantastic chocolate.
Is that your Lenten sacrifice?
It's part of it. I don't like to talk about it.
Oh, wow.
Which is why I brought it up.
Okay.
I really don't like that. I mean, I just got to thinking about chocolate.
Yeah, well, I like
chocolate. My goodness.
Well, Aldi has a lot of stuff, and I do like them. See, the first one's free, Aldi.
Yeah,
the first one's free. You have to pay us for the rest, but I can encourage people to come
all the time in all my endeavors. If you just give me chocolate, like I can be bought.
That's very cheap. Off.
Yeah, just chocolate.
I like their meat and milk.
Yeah, their milk. I like their half and half. We get their half and half.
I get their milk because it's organic, and it costs less than my local chain grocery store.
Yeah, we probably get their milk. And my wife, she's very fond of. If I could put in a plug for a company. No, my wife is fantastic. She has terrible taste in men, but she's fantastic. But she is very fond of Kroger. And I enjoy Kroger as well, and I've given Kroger a lot of publicity over the years, with very little to show for it. But I'll continue to do it.
In your down there, do you call it Kroger's? Because I do up here.
I just call it Kroger.
You say I'm going to Kroger. Okay.
Yeah, people will say Walmart's.
Walmart's.
Say Walmart.
Walmart. Anybody say Walmart?
I've heard Walmart, and I've heard Walmarts.
Yeah, Walmart's.
Yep.
This is something that they probably do not do in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm just
No.
guessing. No.
I've never heard of Walmarts.
Well, it's the same, no, it is the same place.
It
Well,
is
no, it's a
the same
special. No, it's a special. That's how they market themselves in the South is Walmarts.
Welcome to
To me,
Walmart.
it's quaint because it's like back to that old thing when a family would own a store, and it'd be called like Wilson's.
Sure.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
it's Walmart. I see.
So it is the Walmart family, old mom and pop Walmart own this.
Yeah. This I do like going to grocery stores and trying to get the best deal. We did a show on coupons, didn't we, Ken?
Yes, we did. Yeah.
We might have to come back and talk
My
about.
wife does that. I'm terrible with money. I'm a creative type. Did I mention that? I'm terrible with money. I don't. I
So
really.
that stereotype is true.
In my case, it is. Like I hate money, which is why I am not good at show business. I'm not good at the business. Like I really. I
like
have
the show.
damn it in my brain. I'm like, damn it. Like most people really love money. I hate money. I would love to set all the money on fire.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I would.
Well, at least do something with it first.
Well, you need stuff.
Yeah.
You don't have to have money. Come on now.
Well,
Let's get together on this. Let's figure something out. In the time we got, how much time we got left? 8 minutes. We can figure
Yeah.
this out.
Yeah.
We're gonna do
Well-
away with money tonight.
We can do it. That's fine. I would be happy to do away with money if more people would be willing to barter
Oh yeah, that's
and trade goods and services. I don't have any money, but I will trade what services I can render. I'm fairly good with databases.
boy. I think I'm in trouble. I don't have any services to render. Never mind. I like
Well,
money. Let's keep-
We'll improv for food, right? So
yeah, the people don't. Yeah,
It doesn't
when
work.
times get hard, people don't want you improv, they want you shoveling something.
well, I can shovel until my back gives out. I'll shovel
Yeah, I think I can be funnier longer than I can shovel.
or raise chickens.
Or rabbits. Rabbits
Or
are very
rabbits.
efficient source.
Did you raise rabbits?
I do not, but I've heard that if you want to live on the cheap, get you some rabbits and start processing them in your backyard, and you can.
Hey, let me tell you something about rabbits. Now we talked about this on our preparation episode. We'll have to come back to that. There's a guy that was on one of those survivalist TV shows,
Mhm.
raised rabbits, had an aquaponic greenhouse where he was raising tilapia, and the water in the tilapia poop, he was mixing with rabbit pee. This is a great show, everybody.
Yeah.
He was using that to fertilize his garden
Huh.
and grow some big old monster tomatoes. And whatever the rabbit food turned over every 2 weeks, he always had a constant supply of rabbit food. And he had so many rabbits that he used their pellets to make a flamethrower. It was awesome. He made his own methane,
Wow.
if
Thought
you
were
can
gonna say
imagine.
meth for a second.
Well, now I don't know if he did
Yeah.
not, but he made his own methane, which he used to power his forklift, and then he made a flamethrower from the methane from the rabbit poop.
This guy's got it figured out.
He's
We're
got-
wasting
well,
our time.
completely self-sufficient because he could eat the rabbits.
Yeah.
The rabbits continued to populate.
Yes.
He's eating whatever vegetables he grew and tilapia.
Yeah.
It seemed like the perfect mix. Plus, you got flamethrowers. So
You gotta when times get hard because I notice he doesn't have any sources of milk or bread.
no,
He needs the flamethrower because that is the secondary way to protect yourself from a Wendigo is a flamethrower.
well, I would think they would not want heat.
No, they'll melt straight away. It'll just be water and hair.
Yeah, so
Singed hair.
that's what
In fact, that's what this is. It's Wendigo.
that's Wendigo. Wow.
Bringing it around. It's very soft, very luxurious.
Well, sure. So Wendigo is pretty soft then.
It's very soft.
I've never wanted to get close enough to try to touch a Wendigo.
Well, their claws and their teeth are not soft,
Yeah.
but their pelts are very soft.
Well, I would assume that you could use the claws and teeth for other
They
things.
melt. They melt away when they die.
Do they really?
All it leaves is just the pelt. and water.
Wow. So you'd have to dry the felt out, but
You dry it out. Yeah, it's fine.
okay.
And it smells. It smells like fear. But it's very
Why does that wash out? Does
No,
fear
you
wash
cannot
out?
wash out the fear smell.
Well,
Yeah.
So we have officially come full circle.
We've come full circle. That's what we call a callback. Bringing it all
Callback.
there.
Oh,
I feel the rhythm of the pod. See, I hadn't podcasted in a while, but the podcast rhythm,
yeah.
it's in my spine.
I don't have any rhythm at all.
Well, I'm here to supply that for you this evening.
Well, I'm glad you were able to come on. And
Oh heavens, it was great. Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
come back anytime. And it's good to get an opinion of someone that actually knows something about creativity.
Or can pretend that they know something about it. But yeah,
Well, sure. Well, then you're also a gifted actor. If
that's right.
Well,
That's right.
add that to your.
This is my headshot. Just in case the casting directors look, I'm doing a headshot.
That's good. One from the
Okay.
side.
Yeah, a little. There we go. A lot of different looks. Thank
So-
you for having me on.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Is there anything that you wanted to plug? Of course, we'll have your links in the show notes.
Yeah, it's all my links. I'm working on a thing right now.
Top secret.
It's only because I don't know when I'll be done with it, and it would not be that exciting if I told you what it was. But I'm happy about it. I think it's gonna. I'm putting forth effort. It's hardest thing I've ever done.
Oh wow.
I will say that it's the hardest thing I've ever done, and that when you hear it, you may go, "Oh, how is that the hardest?" This guy's not very. This guy really gets put out by putting forth any effort whatsoever. So at the risk of that being the reaction, I will say that's the only thing I can really say about it right now is I think it's funny, and it's the hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
And I'm really pushing myself to do this is fixed thing I'm trying to do, and when it's out, I'll let you know about it. And it's
Wow.
it will go into your ears. That's all I can say about it.
Well, we can only wait and see then. So
And then all those links there, when I'll be on Twitter until they kick me off of Twitter, and I usually will talk if there's anything I'm doing that I am in any way proud of whatsoever, I'll talk about it.
I'm not necessarily proud of anything that I do on Twitter, but I am having fun interacting with people. I think I've met more people
Yes.
just interacting on Twitter than I have in any other social media thing. I mean, the blog is nice because I get people that'll follow the articles, but very few people actually engage the articles. But
Right.
on Twitter,
Well, it's the barrier of entry is so low,
yeah,
and you can just like kind of crisscross with people, through topics or things that are going on, or through other people. So yeah, it's fun. You can tell a joke, and then some dude in Germany
Could tell.
will like it.
or you get a thumbs up from Montel Williams. I got one of those.
Well, my goodness.
I got a like from Montel Williams and Chuck Woolery.
Well, I'm going to have to call you sir.
Most people do.
Yeah, I will, Mr. McNutt. I'm sorry, Mr. McNutt. I didn't realize.
Well, that was kind of cool because that's why I like Twitter, because you can talk to whoever. They can, at worst, they ignore you. Big deal.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
I'll cry.
and
I'll
we
go home and cry.
Well, yeah, but they won't see me cry.
Right.
I'm
On
not gonna
Twitter,
text my Twitter.
that should
I'm
be the-
crying.
on Twitter, no one can see you cry
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
or eat a whole pizza.
and on Twitter, I especially check out. Just to promote Fiat for a little bit. We have a new show going on, Catholic Sis at CatholicSis.com. She'll be coming on Al's show next week. But I mean, it's great. Twitter is great, and I'm. It is a great way of communicating with people. So it's just a really quick thing. I'll just blast that out, but it's definitely a great way. And please follow us on all the everybody's Twitter accounts. We'll have everything in the show notes.
That's 3 thumbs up
Yes.
for Twitter.
Yes.
Twitter works. It's lots of fun.
It
now,
works.
and since we're at time,
Yeah.
I want to close us in prayer, but because Monday was the feast of my patron, St. Polycarp,
Oh, yeah, happy feast day.
tonight's intercessions, we're going to have St. Polycarp to pray for us. And then we'll get together next week and do a cool show. And I'm toying between a couple of topics, so I won't let you know just yet.
Okay.
I hope everybody will come back. And again, if you're ever in Huntsville, Alabama, go see some Rockets, go see some Comic Science Improv,
Yes.
which
Or just take me out and give me some food.
go get some, what's that taco place?
Oh, Bandito Burrito.
Bandito Burrito. We'll go
Yeah,
get-
take me to Bandito Burrito, and I'll show you what burritos are good.
We'll see. There you go. I need to get down there anyway. It's only like
Yeah, you should come down. We'll do Huntsville stuff.
tour the drag.
The drag.
I
Yeah.
don't know what you do in Huntsville besides the Rocket place. That's all I've ever seen.
Podcast.
Oh,
Podcast.
I'll go on the road. I'll take the podcast
Yeah.
on the road, Ken. That's
Yeah.
what we'll
That would be awesome. We can do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
We can do
I may
that.
be able to work that out one weekend.
Yeah.
All right. Before I talk about Wendigo again, let's
Yes.
pray. In the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord Jesus, thank you for tonight. Thank you for the podcast, and thank you for Jason and for Kent. Thanks for everybody that was able to participate in our show tonight and the people that listen and watch in silence sometimes. Pray that we just have a good day tomorrow and a good rest of our week and a good weekend, and help us no matter what we're doing to work with all of our might, with all of our efforts to be good and faithful workers in whatever we're called to do, and that we will always just be available and ready to give an answer for the faith that you have given us. We ask all this through the intercession of great St. Polycarp of Smyrna. Please pray for us. In the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
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 Good night, everybody. God bless.
Thank y'all.
Thank you for joining us on the Tactical Catholic Podcast, a presentation of the Fiat Ministry Network. Visit us on the web at www.fiatministrynetwork.tv. Good night and God bless. Stay connected with Fiat Ministry Network. Like us on Facebook. Stay updated at fiatministrynetwork.tv/feed. Follow us on Twitter at Fiat Ministry Net. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Fiat Ministry Network. Fiat Ministry Network, encouraging all to say yes to Jesus Christ.